Welcome, welcome, everybody. Can you guess what the hat I'm wearing? What story I'm going to be reading? Some of you know because you may have seen the video or you may have read the story. Yes, it's about an elephant, and it has to do with a clover flower, and there's a speck of dust up there. The story I'm going to be reading is Horton Hears a Who. This is written and illustrated by Dr. Seuss. One thing about elephants, I'm going to tell you something about elephants to help you understand a little bit about this book. Elephants have really good hearing. They can hear really well. So they can hear like really faint sounds. And they're very smart because they remember everything. So let's read about Horton Hears a Who. Horton Hears a Who. On the 15th of May, in the jungle of Newell, in the heat of the day, in the cool of the pool, he was splashing, enjoying the jungle's great joys, when Horton the elephant heard a small noise. Now, you can hear me like talk real soft and between my hand. This is going to let you know that that's going to be the really soft voice you hear. And remember, elephants hear really good. Not all animals. This elephants hear really good. So Horton stopped splashing. He looked towards the sound. That's funny, he thought. There's not one around. Then he heard it again. Just a few faint yelps, as if some tiny person were calling for help. I'll help you, said Horton. But who are you? Where? He looked and he looked. He could see nothing there but a small speck of dust blowing past through the air. They have really good eyesight as well. That's why he saw the speck. I say, murmured Horton, I have never heard tell of a small speck of dust that is able to yell. So you know what I think? Why, I think that there must be someone on top of that small speck of dust. Some sort of creature of very small size, too small to be seen by an elephant's eyes. So even smaller than what the elephant can see. Some poor little person who's shaking with fear that he'll blow in the pool. He has no way to steer. I'll just have to save him because, after all, a person's a person, no matter how small. So gently and using the greatest of care, the elephant stretched his great trunk through the air, and he lifted the dust speck and carried it over and placed it down safe on a very soft clover. Humph, said the voice. 'Twas the sour kangaroo, and the young kangaroo in her pouch said humph too. Why, I speak is all smart as the head of a pin. A person on that? Why, there's never has been. Believe me, said Horton, I tell you sincerely. My ears are quite keen, and I heard him quite clearly. I know there's a person down there, and what's more, quite likely there's two, even three, even four. Quite likely. A family of all that we know, a family with children just starting to grow. So please, said Horton, as a favor to me, try not to disturb them. Just let them be. You think she's going to let them be? I think you are a fool, laughed the sour kangaroo, and the young kangaroo in her pouch said, Me too. You're the biggest blamed fool in the jungle of New, and the kangaroo plunged in the cool of the pool. What terrible splashing, the elephant frowned. I can't let my very small persons get drowned. I've got to protect them. I'm bigger than they. So he plucked up the clover and he hustled away. That's not very nice of them. They purposely meant to try to get that clover all wet. Through the high jungle treetops, the news quickly spread. He talks to a dust speck. He's out of his head. Just look at him walk with the speck on a flower. And Horton walked, worried, almost an hour. Should I put the speck down? Horton thought with alarm. If I do, these small persons may come to great harm. I can put it down, and I won't, after all. A person's a person, no matter how small. Then Horton stopped walking. The speck voice was talking. The voice was so faint he could just barely hear it. Please speak up, said Horton. He put his ear near it. My friend, came the voice. You're a very fine friend. You've helped all of us folks on this stuck speck no end. You've saved our houses and ceilings and floors. You saved all of our churches and grocery stores. You mean, Horton asked, you have buildings there too? Oh, yes, piped the voice. We most certainly do. I know, called the voice. I'm too small to be seen, but I'm mayor of the town that's a friendly and clean. Our buildings to you would seem terribly small, but to us, who aren't big, they aren't wonderfully tall. My town is called Whoville, for I am Who, and we Who are all thankful and grateful to you. And Horton called back to the mayor of the town. You're safe now. Don't worry. I won't let you down. So all these people are on that little teeny tiny speck on top of the clover. Nobody knows they're there except for Horton. I don't think they know that there are people beyond the dust. But just as he spoke to the mayor with the speck, 3 big jungle monkeys climbed up Horton's neck. The Wickersham brothers came shouting, What rot! This elephant's talking to who's who are not. They aren't any who's, and they don't have a mayor, and we're going to stop all this nonsense, so there. Then snatched Horton's clover, they carried it off to the black-bottomed eagle named Vladikov, a mighty strong eagle of very swift wing. And they said, Will you kindly get rid of this thing? And before the poor elephant could even speak, the eagle flew off with the flower in his beak. All that late afternoon and far into the night, that black-bottomed bird flapped his wings in fast flight, while Horton chased after with groans over stones, that tattered his toenails and battered his bones, and begged, Please don't harm my little folks, who have as much right to live as us bigger folks do. But far, far beyond him, that eagle kept flapping, and over his shoulder called back, "Quit your yapping. I'll fly the night through. I am a bird, I don't mind, and I'll hide this tomorrow where you'll never find it." And at 6:56 the next morning, he did. It sure was a terrible place that he hid it. He let the small clover drop somewhere inside of a great patch of clovers, 100 miles wide. "Find that," sneered the bird. "But I think you will fail." And he left with a zip of his black-bottomed tail. You think the Horton's going to be able to find that particular clover all through this clover patch with tons and tons of flowers? Ooh, let's see if he can find them.
"I'll find it," cried Horton. "I'll find it or bust. I shall find my friends on my small peck of dust." And clover by clover and clover with care,
he picked up and searched them and called them. "Are you there?" By clover, by clover, by clover, he found that the one that he sought was just not around. And by noon, poor old Horton, more dead than alive, he picked, searched, and piled up 9,005. That's a lot of clovers. Then, on through the afternoon, hour after hour, till he found them at last. One of three, on the 3,000,000th flower. "My friend," cried the elephant, "tell me, do tell, are you safe? Are you sound? Are you whole? Are you well? You think they're going to be okay? All those people on the speck of dust?" From down on the speck came the voice of the mayor.
"We've really had trouble, much more than our share. When the black-bottomed birdie let go and we dropped, we landed so hard that our clocks have all stopped. Our teapots are broken, our rocking chairs smashed, and our bicycles' tires all blew up when we crashed. So Horton, please,"
pleaded the voice of the mayor's,
"will you stick by us who's while we're making repairs?"
"Of course," Horton answered.
"Of course I will stick. I will stick by you small folks through thin and through thick."
So now, since the clover with the dust and all the people on the dust, once it fell down from a really high height from the bird, all their things broke. Their buildings, now they have to repair everything.
"Humph," cried the voice. For almost 2 days you've run wild and insisted on chatting with persons who's never existed. Such carry-ons in our peaceful jungle. We've been quite enough of your bellowing blungle. And I'm here to state," snapped the big kangaroo, "that your silly nonsense game is all through." And your kangaroo in her pouch said,
"Me too."
With the help of the Wickersham brothers and dozens of Wickersham uncles and Wickersham cousins and Wickersham's in-laws whose help I've engaged, you're going to be roped and you're going to be caged. And as for you dust speck, bah! That we shall boil in hot steaming kettle of bezel nut oil." "Boil it?" gasped Horton. "Oh, that you can't do. It's all full of persons. they'll prove it to you.
So all these other animals just cannot hear the people on that tiny, tiny, tiny little speck.
Mr. Mayor, Horton cried. Mr. Mayor, you've got to prove now that you really are there. So call a big meeting, get everyone out, make everyone holler, make every who holler, make every who shout. Make every who scream. If you don't, every who is going to end up in bezelnut stew.
And down on the dust speck, the scared little mayor quick called a big meeting in Whoville Town Square. And his people cried loudly, they cried out in fear. We are here, we are here, we are here, we are here. They're all shouting. They gonna hear it? Elephant smiled.
That was clear as the bell. You kangaroos surely heard that very well. All I heard, snapped the big kangaroo, was the big breeze and a faint sound of wind through the far distant trees. I heard no such small voices, and you didn't either.
And the young kangaroo in her pouch said, Me neither.
Grab him, they shouted, and cage that big dope. Lasso his stomach with 10 miles of rope. Tie the knots tight so he'll never shake loose. Then dunk that dumb speck in beetle nut juice.
Horton fought back with great vigor and vim, but the Wickersham gang was too many for him. They beat him, they mauled him, they dared to haul him into his cage, but he managed to call to the mayor, Don't give up, I believe in you all. A person's a person, no matter how small. And you very small persons will not have to die if you make yourselves heard. So come on now and try. Do you think they're going to hear them? They're already yelling. They're shouting. They're yelling at the top of their lungs. They're making sounds with noises and banging things. The mayor grabbed a tom-tom. He started to smack it, and all over Whoville they hooped up a racket. They rattled tinned kettles. They beat on brass pans, on garbage pail tops and old cranberry cans. They blew on bazookas and blasted great toots, on clarinets, oompas, and boompas, and flutes. Great gusts of loud racket rang high into the air. They rattled and shook the whole sky, and the mayor called up through the howling mad hoobaloo.
Hey, Horton, how's this? Is our sound coming through?
And Horton called back,
I can hear you just fine, but the kangaroo's ears aren't as strong quite as mine. They don't hear a thing, and you sure all your brothers. They don't hear a thing. Are you sure all your boys are doing their best? Are they all making noise? Are you sure every who down in Whoville is working? Quick, look through your town. Is there anyone shirking?
Through the town rushed the mayor from the east to the west, but everyone screamed to do their best. Everyone seemed to be yapping and yipping. Everyone seemed to be beeping and bipping. But it wasn't enough. All this ruckus and roar, he had to find someone to help him make more. He raced through each building. He searched floor to floor. So the mayor's going through the town, checking every building from floor to floor, trying to see if everyone's yelling. And just as he felt he was getting nowhere and almost about to give up in despair, he suddenly burst through a door, and that mayor discovered one shirker quite hidden away in the Fairfax apartment 12J. A very small shirker named Jojo was just standing and bouncing a yo-yo, not making a sound, not a yip, not a chirp, and the mayor rushed inside and he grabbed the young twerp. And he climbed with the lad up to the Ethelberg Tower. "This," cried the mayor, "is your town's darkest hour. Time for all you who's have blood that is red to come to the aid of their country," he said. "We've got to make noise to great amounts, so open your mouth wide, for every voice counts." Thus he speaks as he climbed. When they got to the top, the lad cleared his throat and he shouted out, "Yawp!" And that yawp, that one small extra yawp, pulled it over. Finally, at last, from that speck on that clover, their voices were heard. They rang out clear and clean, and the elephant smiled. "Do you see what I mean? They've proved they are persons, no matter how small, and the whole world was saved by the smallest of all." Meaning the kid, his voice is what finally saved them. They heard everything. All the bigger animals heard all the little tiny people. "How true, yes, how true," said the big kangaroo. "And from now on, you know what I'm planning to do. From now on, I'm going to protect them with you." And the young kangaroo in the pouch said, do you know what she said? "Me too. From sun in the summer, from rain when it's fallish, I'm going to protect them no matter how smallish." The end. So yeah, Horton protecting all those people. I forgot to check. I know this is an ARR book, and I believe it's like a 3 to a 4 point something. So if you're within that reading range, you can check the Renaissance online and see. Type in Horton Hears a Who. I'll have it in the links below in the description on the reading level because I forgot to look it up for you guys and tell you on the video. And make sure if you're going to take the test that you read that 3 times before taking the test. So Dr. Seuss is trying to teach you a lesson, a few lessons. One is it doesn't matter how small you are, you should be heard. So make sure you speak out loudly so that everyone can hear, everyone understands what you're saying. Make it clear to them. Because a lot of times they've like, especially parents, they've got things going on and, you know, other things to worry about, and they're not quite listening to you, or they might think you're saying something else. So make sure you let people know. The other way you can look at it on this is, doesn't matter who you are, what you look like, what you do. You're all the same. A person's a person, no matter how small, no matter what you look like. That's what Dr. Seuss is trying to tell you guys. So there are about 50 something books, the lower 50s, of Dr. Seuss. Horton Hears a Who. I know you can go out in some places outside during the springtime and summertime, and you can talk about the clover flowers that you see. They're a pinkish purple color depending on where you are. Some are more purple. You can talk about that, nature. You can talk about, again, teaching them about respecting other people and their opinions, whether you agree with it or not. Like the other animals didn't agree with Horton that there were people. So whether you agree or not of somebody, you can still be nice to them. You can listen to them, hear what they have to say, but don't be mean about it. Just let them be. Isn't that what he's trying to say? Just let them be. Let him be. Let him worry about the people on the dust, speck of dust. What did the other animals, why did they have to do what they did? So, anytime there's disputes, always just listen to each other, hear what each other had to say. Don't get mad. Don't do harsh things. Just listen. And maybe you guys can come with an agreement on what to do. So if this is your first video, please follow my YouTube channel. I would greatly appreciate it if you did that and you shared my channel as well with other people you know they're going to have kids at some point in time during the day or the week. I would greatly appreciate that. And if you like some information on links of when I'm going to be putting videos out, when I've got things that might be relating to the books, I might be able to go read somewhere to other students and kids. I started another channel which has a link below with was starting to do crafts. I may start doing some cooking there, things like that. Another example I'll probably be putting up in the next week is how to make all of these truffalo trees. This is all one pot, to the really smaller ones where you can have it on a table. This one would be like a floor model. I just have it propped up on something. This is about a 3.5 in height. So I hope you guys have a good evening. See you in the next video.